Escalation of chaotic nodes and the dismantling of 3D reality. October 14, 2014. Due to time acceleration and cosmic forces far beyond your control, you are in the midst of a crescendo of interlocking chaotic nodes. In past messages we have referred to the interaction of chaotic events as a chaotic node, singular, but in this instance we are referring to a more complex phenomenon, what we are calling chaotic nodes, plural. Depending upon your vibratory resonance you will be affected in unique ways by the escalation of chaotic events. Those of you sensitive to the ecosystem of this planet may be experiencing extreme duress as you witness the degradation of the ecosystem and the loss of many species of life. Another chaotic node, in addition to the chaotic node of your ecosystem, is the stress of interpersonal communications. This is a very complex situation, and it is partly due to the shifts in magnetic fields upon your planet, making short-term memory and cognitive sequencing difficult during energetic shifts, and these energetic shifts are accelerating. Irrational behavior, desperation and feelings of utter hopelessness are on the rise. As the deterioration of both the ecosystem and interpersonal communications increase, we anticipate even more cultural and social instability. There is a growing sense among many that something is terribly wrong, and along with this is the feeling that there is no solution. In this instance we agree with something Albert Einstein once said, which is that the solution to a problem cannot be solved at the level of the problem. From our perspective, the escalation of chaotic nodes is creating tidal waves of intense chaotic energies that many of you are finding difficult to contend with. Furthermore, your automatic reflexive ways of dealing with change are increasingly ineffective. There is a fork in the road, so to speak, that you have entered both individually and collectively. One path from this fork will lead you into a type of madness and an inability to function in practical ways. For those who take this fork, escapism will be on the rise. Self-destruction both individually and collectively will also increase in this period. Many of you who have an opportunity to transition out of third-dimensional reality into other dimensions will take it. Without mincing words, to use one of your phrases, we would say you are entering one of the more difficult passages of planetary transformation. At this fork in the road, one path leads to self-destruction, madness, despair, and hopelessness, while the other fork leads to a deeper connection with your interdimensional or spiritual nature. It is this fork in the road we wish to explore. It is not an either-or proposition. Many of you who possess a transcendent and interdimensional or spiritual sense of yourself may find yourselves, from time to time, on the path to madness and self-destruction in spite of your self-knowledge. This is because your 3D reality is oscillating, and the rapid changes in your third-dimensional existence are accelerating at a faster rate than your biological organism might be capable of handling. The extreme stresses upon your biological nature must be dealt with if you wish to avoid the path to madness and self-destruction. In its simplest terms, the requirement to successfully make this passage through the escalation of chaotic nodes is deep, authentic contact with your interdimensional or spiritual nature and the self-renewal that arises from such contact. We are therefore sharing a sound meditation for this purpose. There are no complex geometries involved. There is nothing that needs to be done when engaging this sound meditation other than placing your awareness in your entire physical body. The sound patterns are a direct transmission from the light realms into the language of your biology. It is a counterforce to the chaos and the confusion that is creating stress within your biological nature. It is short in length because many of you are time-stressed. You have too much to do in too little time because you are trying to hold the old world together as time accelerates. All we can say to you from our perspective is that holding the old world together is mission impossible. Letting go of the old world, and your attachment to how you think you need to be, is part of what is required to take the higher path. Our suggestion is that you listen to this sound meditation as often as you wish, and when you listen to the sound patterns, focus your awareness in the physical reality of your being, your physical body. All that is required to successfully engage this sound meditation is to listen to it with awareness in your physical body, and the cellular structure of your body will unwind and release stress and delusional states of perception, giving you a greater possibility to enter a higher path. We are calling the sound meditation the Levitron, because the root of the word means to elevate, and it also refers to the electronic nature of your biological reality. This sound meditation is a direct transmission of energy from the light realms into the bioelectric, biochemical, and quantum realities of your body for the purpose of elevating your vibratory rate and consciousness. In the final analysis, your personal experience of the escalation of interlocking chaotic nodes will depend solely upon the vibratory resonance you have attained or failed to attain. The responsibility for this passage as an individualized being, embodied in time and space, is solely and completely your responsibility. We wish you a good journey on the high road. The Hathors. Tom's thoughts and observations. In my opinion, this is one of the more urgent messages the Hathors have ever given me due to the nature of the changes they see in our near future. When I asked them about the title they chose for this message, their response was that we have entered an accelerated phase of planetary chaos, and we are both witnessing and living through the unraveling of third-dimensional reality as we have known it. It just so happened that I received this message during the beginning stages of the Ebola crisis in the United States, which traces its origins to parts of Western Africa but is now spreading beyond political borders. I asked the Hathors about this, and they said the Ebola virus is just the tip of what is to come as a result of environmental changes. Specifically, they said that new viruses and bacteria, hitherto unknown to Western medicine, are being introduced into the environment due to deforestation and complex changes in the ecosystem that our sciences have yet to identify. Furthermore, the Hathors say that many viruses and bacteria are mutating and will continue to do so at an accelerated rate. Some of these mutations will make medical treatment problematic and difficult in the coming years. While this is a scary proposition, the Hathors reminded me that the purpose of life, at least from their perspective, is not physical survival per se, but rather the evolution and elevation of interdimensional awareness, what some might call the soul, the Atman, or the indestructible drop. While they could have gone more deeply into the details of our degrading ecosystem and the challenges around interpersonal communications both between individuals and nations, they chose to address the challenges facing us as individuals. They are concerned that the stress of living through a radical alteration of 3D reality is creating and will continue to create what they call maladaptive madness, meaning a mental emotional instability that will decrease our capacity to respond to changing realities in a resourceful manner. In its more intense forms, people will just flat out lose their minds and engage in all types of bizarre self-destructive behaviors. When I asked the Hathors about this further, they said that we are actually only in the beginning phase of interlocking chaotic nodes and that barring some unforeseen force, we are in for a global free fall, the likes of which we cannot begin to imagine. By global free fall, they do not mean an end to the world, but they do infer an end to the world as we have known it. And this morphing into new realities is occurring all around us on multiple levels and at a mind-boggling rate of speed. This free fall is what they referred to when they said that we are individually and collectively at a fork in the road, meaning at a choice point. The choice point is whether we succumb to chaotic forces or rise upward into greater coherency despite what seems to be happening within and around us. The Levitron. The Levitron sound meditation is meant to assist us through the current passage that is, by the Hathor's own estimation, one of the more difficult phases of planetary transformation. When they discussed the effects of this particular sound meditation, they said, the cellular structure of your body will unwind and release stress and delusional states of perception. What they meant by this enigmatic statement is that the Levitron reduces stress reactions in the body, and in their view overly stressful reactions create delusional states of mind. In other words, when we are excessively stressed, our mental emotional perspective is twisted and we respond to situations in our lives from a less resourceful state than when we are not unduly stressed. I think the Hathor's description of how to work with this sound meditation is self-explanatory, so I won't discuss it further other than to say that I think it is best if you listen to this sound meditation with stereo headphones or earbuds. Furthermore, hearing is believing. And if the meditation speaks to you, I would incorporate it into your daily stress management program. If it doesn't resonate with you, then I wouldn't work with it. But whether you choose to work with this sound meditation or not, I think it would be prudent to use some method to recenter yourself mentally, emotionally, and spiritually on a daily basis. Having sensed the strong energetic feelings coming from the Hathors as I received this message, I am reminded of something my 9th grade algebra teacher liked to say to our class whenever we entered a more complex arena of math: it's gonna get worse before it gets better. Finally, how you and I respond to the challenges of interlocking chaotic nodes and the radical alteration of our 3D reality is, and will be, solely and completely our own personal responsibility. No one is going to save us from ourselves. While the tone of this message is indeed alarming, I think we would do well to keep intact, and by our side, a good sense of humor. As the American writer, Mark Twain, once quipped, "Some things in life are so serious all you can do is laugh." In my experience, this type of humor arises from a realization that this world is, in many ways, illusory. And while the embodied human being aspect of us has to contend with the realities of a changing 3D reality, the transcendent or spiritual part of us is outside the fray because it is in a dimension that transcends time, space, and the gravity well of Earth. Somewhere between these two polarities, human embodiment and transcendent freedom, there is an amusing place in consciousness. Finding this amusing space is, in my opinion, an indispensable ally for those of us in search of the high road. May you and your loved ones, as well as all beings in all realms of existence, find an expeditious way to the higher path. Tom Kenyon. www.tomkenyon.com